Germany, 1922. A farmhouse, forgotten by time, hidden beyond the trees, beyond the road, beyond help. One morning, someone noticed something strange. Footprints, only one trail. They came from the forest, straight to the house, but none ever came back out. No return, no escape. As if whoever arrived never left. Days later, the silence became unbearable. Neighbors finally walked to the farm. They expected answers. Instead, they found death. 6 people, gone, brutally murdered. But something made the crime even worse. Far worse. The fireplace had been kept burning. The cattle had been fed. Meals had been eaten. Someone had been living inside the farmhouse for 4 days, surrounded by 6 dead bodies, sleeping beneath the same roof, walking the same halls, listening to absolute silence. Then, without a trace, the killer vanished. No confession, no witness, no motive. More than a century later, the house is gone, the family is gone, but the questions never left. Tonight, we open another forgotten page. Inside, the missing ledger. Long before the murders, something changed. The Gruber family lived alone, almost completely isolated. Their home was called Hinterkaifeck, a small Bavarian farm, miles from the nearest village. Life was simple, demanding, predictable, until the signs began. One morning, the family noticed footprints, fresh, deep, leading from the forest toward the farmhouse. The trail ended. No footprints led away. None. Soon, another mystery appeared. A newspaper appeared, lying near the farmhouse. No one subscribed to it. No neighbor claimed it. Someone had left it there, intentionally. Days later, the family realized their house keys were missing. The keys had vanished. The old farmer, Andreas Gruber, began hearing footsteps. Not outside, inside, above him, in the attic. Slow, measured, back and forth, night after night. He climbed upstairs, lantern in hand, searching every corner. Nothing, no person, no animal, no explanation. Only silence. Life continued. Because life had to. The family convinced themselves it was coincidence, bad luck, nothing more. But there was one final warning. The previous maid quit unexpectedly. She told neighbors the farmhouse was haunted. She heard strange sounds, whispers, movement when no one else was there. Nobody believed her. She packed her belongings, walked away, and never returned. A new maid arrived instead. March 31st, 1922, her first day. She had no idea she had entered a house already chosen, because somewhere beyond the trees, someone else was already waiting. March 31st, 1922, Friday. Evening settled over Hinterkaifeck. The farm looked ordinary. The animals were quiet. The fields were empty. Inside, life continued. A family preparing for another night, unaware it would be their last. Somewhere outside, darkness gathered, patient, silent, watching. Perhaps it had been watching it for weeks, perhaps even longer. No one knows exactly when the killer arrived. Only that, by nightfall, he was already there, waiting. Then, someone left the house. Why? Nobody knows. Maybe a strange sound. Maybe an animal. Maybe a familiar voice. Whatever happened, it worked. One person walked toward the barn, toward the darkness, toward someone already waiting. There, hidden beyond the reach of the lantern light. Minutes passed. Then, another family member left the house, searching, calling, looking for the first. Then another, one after another, not together, separately, drawn into the same darkness. Investigators later believed the killer used the first victim to lure the next. Each disappearance created another question. Each question pulled someone else toward the barn until 4 people had vanished without a scream that reached the neighbors, without anyone escaping. Inside the barn, the killer struck, fast, brutally. Investigators believed the weapon was a mattock, a heavy farming tool, common, simple, devastating. One victim, then another, then another, then another. The attack was deliberate, not frantic, not random. There was no evidence of panic, only precision. Silence returned almost immediately. The barn became still once again, but it wasn't over. 2 people remained inside. The new maid, Maria Baumgartner. She had arrived only hours earlier. The youngest child, little Joseph, just 2 years old. Neither had witnessed what happened outside. The killer entered the house, room by room, step by step. The silence never broke. By the time dawn approached, every member of the household was dead. 6 lives gone in a single night. Morning arrived. The sun rose normally. The chimney would soon smoke again. The cattle would soon be fed. To anyone passing by, nothing seemed unusual. The farmhouse still looked alive, and that was the most terrifying part, because inside, death had already come. Yet someone was still there, living, waiting for 4 more days. Morning came. April 1922. The night had passed, but the mystery had only begun. From a distance, nothing appeared unusual. The chimney still smoked, thin, steady, continuous. Someone was keeping the fire alive. To any traveler, the farmhouse looked occupied, lived in, ordinary. That illusion would last for 4 days. The animals were not abandoned. Investigators found evidence that someone had cared for them. Hay had been distributed. The cattle had been fed. Water had been replenished. These were not complicated tasks, but they required time, attention, presence. Whoever remained understood farm life, or had spent enough time there to learn it. The routine continued as though the household had simply gone quiet inside. The evidence was equally unsettling. Food had been consumed. Bread had been cut. Meals appeared to have been prepared. The kitchen did not suggest a house frozen in time. Instead, it suggested someone continuing life, lighting fires, moving between rooms, opening doors, closing them again, all beneath a roof that investigators would later describe as a crime scene. Today, it seems impossible. How could no one notice? The answer lies in the landscape. Hinterkaifeck was isolated. Its nearest neighbors were not next door. Farmhouses were separated by fields, forests, distance. People worked from sunrise until dusk. Days could pass without conversation, without visitors, without reason to walk across another family's land. Small details did raise questions. The young daughter missed school. Mail went unanswered, but each clue on its own could be explained. Together, they formed a pattern, one that no one recognized until it was too late. For decades, one question has overshadowed every other. Who stayed behind? The evidence suggests someone remained. For days, not hours, days, but history cannot tell us exactly who or why. The farmhouse became something else, not simply the scene of an unsolved crime, but the setting of one of Europe's most enduring mysteries. The smoke eventually stopped. The doors would soon be opened, and the silence that had settled over Hinterkaifeck would finally be broken. Tuesday, April 4th, 1922. 4 days had passed. The farm had grown quiet, too quiet. The young daughter had not appeared at school. Visitors had received no answer. Small concerns began to connect, and eventually, someone decided to check on the family. The visitors crossed the yard. Everything appeared ordinary. The buildings were still standing. The animals were still there. Nothing suggested what had happened. They called out. No reply. They looked inside the house, then toward the barn. Inside, the silence changed. Investigators would later record that 4 members of the household were found in the barn. The arrangement immediately raised questions, not because it explained anything, but because it explained so little. The barn was no longer just another farm building. It became the center of one of Germany's most enduring mysteries. As investigators continued searching, another mystery emerged. The house did not appear abandoned. Rooms showed signs of recent activity. The kitchen looked used. The stove had been tended. The farm had continued to function. Every ordinary detail made the unanswered questions even more extraordinary. By sunset, the farmhouse was no longer a family home. It had become an investigation. Officials arrived. Witnesses were interviewed. Measurements were taken. Questions filled notebooks. But answers remained scarce. Every discovery led to another mystery. And this was only the beginning. The investigation began immediately. Witnesses were interviewed. The property was documented. Every room examined. Every object considered. But the deeper investigators looked, the less certain everything became. The obvious motive was missing. Money remained. Valuables were not removed. The farm had not been emptied. Shot 4. If robbery was the goal. If robbery was the goal, it failed to explain the evidence. Then came another possibility. Someone known to the family, someone comfortable on the property, perhaps even expected. But certainty never arrived. If robbery was the goal, it failed to explain the evidence. Then came another possibility. Someone known to the family, someone comfortable on the property, perhaps even expected. But certainty never arrived. Acquaintances, even strangers, passing through Bavaria. More than 100 people would eventually come under scrutiny. Some stories seemed convincing, others collapsed quickly. Every promising lead eventually reached the same place, a dead end. As decades passed, technology improved. New theories appeared. Old theories returned. At one stage, the victims' skulls were re-examined in hopes that additional forensic study might reveal something overlooked, but no examination could answer the central question: who was responsible? The case remained open. Only on paper, history had begun to outrun the evidence. The farmhouse is gone. The buildings were demolished. Years later, the fields remain. The forest still stands. Time changed the landscape, but not the questions. Some mysteries fade. Others grow stronger. Not because we know more, but because so much remains unknown. Hinterkaifeck is remembered not only for what happened, but for what could never be proven. Every investigation leaves behind a record. Some pages reach a conclusion. Others never do. Hinterkaifeck remains one of those pages, incomplete, unresolved, still waiting for an answer that may never come. What do you think happened at Hinterkaifeck? Was the truth hidden in plain sight, or was it lost long ago? Share your thoughts in the comments. because every theory adds another line to the investigation. And if you enjoy carefully researched historical mysteries that history still cannot explain, subscribe and join us as we open another unfinished page inside the missing ledger.